So today we're going to be working on my new 1952 Sunbeam T-20b toaster. This is a fully automatic toaster and it only cost me $2. It's pretty awesome. Now what we're going to do is we're going to open it up and we're going to take the main casing off because the casing has been spray painted green and try to make it look like it's camouflage. It's very stupid, I don't know. But anyway, originally it had a chrome finish on it, which you can see right here. I scratched some of the paint off and it is still reflective, so we're going to deal with that. Then while it's open, we're going to test it out and inspect the unit and repair any faults with it, because like for instance right here you can see that one heating coil is bent and kind of cracked, so that might be bad. We may have to repair that. And then while it's open, we'll also see how it works, because I've never seen a fully automatic toaster before. Like for instance this toaster, it doesn't have any knobs except for the toasted level. Like for instance less toasted, more toasted. But that's the only control. You put your toast in, it automatically goes down, then it heats up, and then it turns off, puts the toast up slowly, and that's it. It automatically does it. There's no and no lever to push it down. Now whenever we turn it over, we can see there's an access panel so we can clean the insides of it, but that's also how we can take it apart, because we can take off these four screws actually, and that takes off this, and then we take off these other two screws, and it takes off this and the Bakelite bottom tray thingy, whatever it's called. So that was pretty easy. The bottom consisted of one big Bakelite tray type thing, and then the metal door that went over the bottom. And as you can see, it says September 19th, 1952, so that's pretty cool that it even says what day it was made. That's always nice to know that kind of stuff. Now, I believe these 8 screws around here should take off the top part, so then we can take it outside and try to remove the paint from it. So whenever we get it apart, we see there's one big piece that's the metal part, and then there's 2 identical parts that are the end caps. But now let's get on to the actual workings of this thing itself. So whenever we put a piece of toast in, if we put a piece of toast in, this isn't real toast, but okay, so toast puts down this lever. So whenever it's pushed up, it flips that switch, which pushes that pin in, which hits this contactor, I think. But shouldn't I think this should be up when there's no load on it, so it should spring up. Maybe this spring isn't springing enough? Maybe there's another spring that should be on there. Well, if we go back here, so this is supposed to push up. And that goes down here on that crossbar. Oh, which is bent. Oh, which isn't even connected. Okay. Aha! Well, there it is. Okay, so these... So now if we put in a piece of bread, it goes down, and it'll probably latch down there somehow. I guess there's only one way to find out how it works. Well, the heating coils definitely work. Okay, it's just burning it, yeah. Well, maybe it was just the temperature meter was wrong. I don't know. Well, the knob says to turn it that way to make it lighter, so perhaps, since this has a lot of rotations in it, perhaps it got out of whack because, well, if the person who took it apart before was dumb enough to paint it green and camo, well, I doubt they would know how to calibrate this properly. So let's put it on the lowest setting possible and retry it. So now we're going to try take 2. Well, I found out this is not the only adjustment you can do. There's also a screw on the bottom that is basically the stiffness of the spring system. So if you push this in, this top part no longer has enough springiness to push it up. But then whenever you pull it down, or when you turn it to be pushing out, makes it all springy. I believe that may be the problem that I was having with it not turning off. So let's try that then. So I have removed the thermostat unit because I believe the issue may be with the thermostat bimetallic strip being bent, as you can see. I don't know for sure though. But basically this entire unit controls the power going through between this and this. If I were to hook these two wires together and plug it in, the coils would heat up. That would push this entire mechanism down, which would push down on this, which would let the bread fall down. And then whenever the continuity between these wires was broken, the heating elements would cool down, the little spring type thing would shrink, and that would push this up. But the main problem that I see with this is that it's automatically on, because see right here we have a little contactor. The only way I see this actually working is if this is open whenever it's at rest, but it only is pushed closed whenever this arm goes in. So I have all this stuff taken apart, and it's actually pretty interesting too. But anyway, you can obviously tell that somebody has been in here and messed with it, because like these edges, they're all bent and stuff like that. And this contactor right here does show signs of being bent too. It has a couple creases in it. But when I'm looking at the bimetallic strip, it doesn't really look all that bad. It doesn't look like it's been bent out of shape. And I put it inside my toaster oven, and it does bend this way. So whenever it's compressed, it goes like this, and the relay is on the other side, so it would push down and break the contact in the relay whenever it heats up. So that's good. So perhaps it's this that is giving me trouble. Maybe I should bend this out like that. So this thing's been stumping me for about 5 hours now. Because pretty much, okay, so we have the bread, comes down and presses down like the trigger arm. That pushes this in. This part goes down. Whenever this pushes this in, it makes the contact and starts the heating mechanism. And the heating mechanism is what pushes it down. So, but the problem is whenever it comes down, then this arm comes out and stops pushing it in. So then the problem is this is supposed to stick. Well, what I think the issue is that it's supposed to be magnetic. Those black things might have been magnets, but now they've like demagnetized. So here's a small little neodymium magnet, and I found that this does change the how it works a lot. Okay, so now testing, and it should do good. Let's turn it on. Now it's not on the on mode, so now set the toast and see if it triggers. It's working. Damn it. The magnet needs a little bit of work because it keeps turning off and on. Awesome. So adding those magnets really did help quite a bit. It sputtered kind of because it kept disconnecting as it went down, but it did okay. Now that the internals are working and I can make toast with it, let's work on the outside and trying to show the beautiful chrome and get rid of that stupid spray paint off of it. So now onto the step of removing the paint. Using acetone and steel wool, I was able to remove the paint somewhat easily. It still took about 25 minutes for that and an hour for that, but and I'm not even done with this all the way yet. But this is already halfway worn off, so that's good. And also an interesting thing I decided, I'm going to leave the green paint inside of the lines. That kind of adds more detailing to it. It looks kind of neat. Not counting up here where it says one slice, I'll leave the paint inside the lettering up there too because it makes it more visible. But unfortunately, it looks like before they painted it, they wire brushed it so you can see the copper underneath. It kind of makes it look bad, but oh well. Now, so we're going to walk through the step of doing this one last piece, and we're going to first need to pour out some acetone. To hold the acetone, I'm going to use this stainless steel tray, and we only need a little bit. Unfortunately, acetone evaporates really fast, so it depends on how fast you work, because if you take too long to do it, then you'll have to refill it because more will be evaporating. That's probably good enough. Now, one thing I'm using is I'm propping up the side, so all the acetone goes to one end, and so that way I can set it in here, and I can dip the edge and do the edges, because I kind of like to let it sit into the acetone a little bit before I start wire brushing it, or before I start steel wooling it. But now I'm just going to set it down like this, get all the acetone all over it, and let it sit for a couple seconds. Now that it's been sitting for a little bit, we can take it out, start to scrub it. Whoa, that's going up pretty fast this time. Whenever the acetone that's in your steel wool reacts to the paint, it becomes inert. So you'll just be trying to scrape it off the hard way without much acetone on there. So it really helps to keep dipping your steel wool back into the acetone. Now with all the middle part brushed off, we want to clean out the edges. So I'm going to move this over like that and let it sit in the acetone. And actually I'll get some more acetone because the acetone's already evaporated. Looks like that one's done. And it's looking pretty nice. Looks good enough to put back on the toaster to me. Now let's continue working on the main body piece of the toaster. We're going to do pretty much the same exact thing. Except for now we have a much bigger surface area we have to clean. And there we're done. That's pretty awesome. You know, I probably should have opened the window 2 hours ago when I started, because this stuff fumes quite a bit, and I've used up half this container. So half this container is evaporated into the air in this small bathroom. Yeah. Yeah. If you start to see bats, don't worry about it, because they're probably not real. Okay, so now that the main mechanism is working and the shell is mostly cleaned off, let's put it back together. Well, I'm pretty happy with it in the end, even if it does give some issues. Awesome. I might want to make the toast a little bit darker, but I can adjust that easily. I hope you enjoyed this video, and thanks for watching. And I gotta say, I hope you find one of these at a yard sale, because they're pretty damn awesome. See ya!